Okay, so we'll just give a few minutes for people to join us. Um, yeah, so we'll just give a few minutes for people to join us. Yeah, so we'll just give a few minutes for people to join us. Okay, I think there's an echo. Let me try to stop it. Okay, I think there's an echo. Let me try to stop it. I think there's an echo. Stop. Okay, there is a tablet. Okay, let me see. So while waiting for a couple of people to join us, I'm just trying to get stuff. Okay, there's a tablet. While waiting for a couple of people to join us, I'm just trying to get stuff. Okay, there's a tablet. While waiting for a couple of people to join us, I'm just trying to get stuff. Okay, there's a tablet. Okay, I think I found the window. Yeah, so everything should be fine now. Okay. Okay, so let me share my screen and okay. So yeah, we are all welcome. I think we have a lot of people already connected now. So we want to go through the recap. I'll just make this larger. So we are doing the recap of the heroes. So unfortunately, Rosius could not be with us today because he's not feeling well. But here I have Ewere. So Ewere, can you just briefly introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Ewere, Diagboya, AWS Community Hero from Lagos, Nigeria, first hero in Africa. Nice to meet everyone, and I hope we have a wonderful session together.
Okay, thank you, Ewere. So I'm Cyril Bandolo, AWS Machine Learning Hero from Cameroon. So normally Rosius was to be here too. He is also a serverless hero from Cameroon, but as I said, he's not feeling well. We'll just go straight to the agenda. We wish him a speedy recovery. So the first thing we are going to look at is an overview of Reinvent. Then we are going to discuss some of the releases related to DevOps, and then we will look at serverless. I'll just go through some of the things from Raw on serverless, and then we are going to talk about machine learning releases this year as well. So if there are any questions, you can always ask, and we will it's just a chat. We are trying to do a recap for the top releases that we found interesting, and we think next year going forward, it would be things you would be using more often to add productivity to your workloads. So the first thing is, let's just briefly look at the overview of Reinvent. So Reinvent, remember, is one of the biggest cloud events. I can say it's the biggest cloud event I've ever attended, or the biggest tech event I've ever attended. It's really massive for those who have attended, and it's organized by AWS. So there's the ability to attend both in person and online. So those who couldn't make it to Las Vegas, they were online. And in that Reinvent, we have more than 2,000 sessions. So it's really like a race. Everything seems like we are just running from morning till evening. I don't even remember the number of times I took breakfast at the right time. So it's also a learning conference where you have boot camps, labs, gamified learning, technical sessions. So like this year, I decided that I was just going to go for workshops, but I still couldn't meet up with the number of workshops I had registered for. So it's really a race, and it's really crazy. So we have lots of live demos, interactions. This year, there was even tattoo there was a session for AWS tattoo. So it's really crazy, and then keynotes from AWS leaders such as the CEO, the CTO, and some of the launches we are going to say here will come from them as well. So if we look again at some of the things that happened last week, the week of the 27th to the 1st of December. So there was the virtual reInvent, first of all, in 2020, that's 2 years back. And then 3 years back, then the hybrid in 2019, and we also had 2022 and 23 now was in person. So before, during the pandemic, we had that problem of virtual, and finally we are back with 2 years of full in-person reInvent. So there are more than 50,000 attendants, and it's almost always like that. So many people in the same place, and it's really a big experience. So even the fact that it's in Las Vegas, so it's really crazy. And you have new services that are released every time. So you have lots of services, as we are going to share some of the links with you, for compute, machine learning, data, security, so much more. And there was a lot of focus on security this year, securing your workloads, lots of things like IAM Analyzer, lots of releases related to security, observability as well. And then you had developer experience. And of course, Gen AI, as expected, was all over the place. So here are some of the links. Some of the sessions are already online. I think most of them are online even. So you can go to top announcements from Reinvent, you get them, that link here, and you can just go to YouTube, Google YouTube, Reinvent Keynotes 2023. You get all the keynotes. You Google the breakout sessions 2023 Reinvent, you get all the breakout sessions. So these are just links to remind you that we are just talking about a couple of services, but there were so many releases this year. So we are trying to break it down for you. So I'm going to hand over to Ewere so he can tell us the key things he found interesting when it comes to the releases of DevOps this year. So Ewere might just take it away and tell us the things you found interesting for DevOps.
Thank you, Cyril. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here again from last year. So this is something we hope to continue every year, so we can help you get a summary of everything that happened during the Reinvent. Like he said, so many sessions, so many breakout sessions. I mean, during Vena's keynote, I watched for like 30 minutes and, I had to stop, come back again because there was so much information and so much to learn. So we are just going to use this session to help to summarize some of the things that we think are quite interesting and we need to look out for. Personally, I'm an AWS community hero, but I focus a lot on containers and compute. So I'm going to be talking a lot around containers, compute, and a little bit of storage. So one of the things I want to talk about, which was quite interesting, was the release of Graviton 4 and Trainium 2. Now, why these two releases are quite interesting and important and key is because of the growth of Gen AI, okay? And now the kind of processors you need to run AI workloads are quite different and are quite unique. So being able to build custom processors, custom CPU units that can handle the workload of Gen AI and AI generally is quite important. And that doesn't also negate the fact that your normal CPUs are not important. So AWS started this journey of Graviton about 4 years ago, and this is also the 4th reboot of Graviton. And for every year, AWS continues to drop the cost and give you better efficiency and lower carbon footprint. The other one is Amazon S3 Express Zone, which is something very interesting that I love that is out and pretty much interesting. It has to do with making your local zone to be closer to where your users are. Can move to the next. Okay, so as I just promised to deliver high efficiency with smaller carbon footprint, it will make running Gen AI faster and less expensive. The Trainium 2 chip will speed up ML workloads and AI applications at a lower cost. So basically, if you go to your Graviton 4 processors, you definitely will get cost cut. So this is just not just being theoretical or marketing jargons. So it's something you can actually practicalize. Now, if you go to your EC2 console or you go to your RDS console, because RDS is very related to EC2 and you use some of the compute features from EC2, when you're launching an instance, always go for the instances that have the G at the end of them. So for example, let's say you want to launch an instance, instead of going for a T3 small, you can go for a T4G small. Now that G behind the 4G means Graviton, okay? And what does Graviton give you? Cheaper, okay, faster, and more efficient. So I'm encouraging every one of us on this call that next time you're launching an instance, an EC2 instance, or you're launching a database instance, try to go for the Graviton. Same happens for the databases too. When you're selecting your instance type for your database, you're going to see the instances that have the G in front of them. That tells you that that's a Graviton processor powered instance type. So you don't just pick instance types anyhow. I mean, one of the major things about the AWS well-architected framework is cost optimization and continuous improvement. So just look out in your dashboard whenever you are launching an instance in the compute resource of AWS and check out for the Graviton. And then for businesses who are already using the old instance, you can actually migrate from the Graviton. Now, what is so unique about the Graviton processors is that they are ARM processors. And ARM processors generally are more energy efficient. They release less heat and they are also cheaper. And they also run as good as the Intel processors that you have. Same also go for the Trainium. So the Trainium are unique processors designed for AI workload specifically. And this is the second reboot of Trainium. So this means that your Gen AI workloads are going to get a huge boost. And I mean, training your AI workloads on things like SageMaker and SageMaker Studio is going to get some boosts, okay? You're going to have your workloads training on steroids and being able to serve on steroids because you are running on the new Trainium 2 processors and which are already readily available from your console. So these are not features you can see directly, but you just need to take note of when you are launching your instance, okay? Same for the inferential processors too, which are also part of the ML processor. So AWS has compute processors and ML AI workload processors. So whenever you're launching your instances, just take note of these little nuances because they are the things that help you to save more and get the best out of the cloud. Okay, move on. Okay, and then the Express One Zone, which is something I was very delighted about. So for the first time, AWS allowing customers to choose specific availability zone for their S3 storage. Now, if you're very conversant with S3, when you're launching an S3, when you're creating an S3 bucket, okay, it usually asks you for just the region, and that's it. Okay, so it creates that high availability for you, replicates your object across the number of availability zones within that region. But for the first time, AWS is saying, you know what? If you need a specific use case where you need your objects, okay, to be very close to you, you can create a one-zoned S3 bucket. Okay, the downside might be that you don't have replication, but you have proximity and reduced latency. So when you're running, say, a social media application that has to do with a lot of images, it means that you can migrate some of the images into this express zone, one zone, and have users get 0.00 latency when they're trying to retrieve objects like images, like files, like image videos too from S3 buckets, and then gives your applications faster response time. So just like every other storage class in S3, Express Zone is a special storage class, but the bucket for it needs to be created separately from existing buckets. So if you want to start using Express One Zone, you can't use the existing bucket you have. You have to create a unique bucket. So if you look at the screenshot down there I have, you can see that you have two ways of creating a bucket. You have the general purpose bucket, and here you have the directory bucket. So the directory bucket serves as the Express One Zone buckets. And then you have the option to select the specific availability zone where you want that bucket to be launched. So you need to understand that at this point in time, you are looking at latency for your applications. So you might want to say, okay, you know what, it doesn't have high availability. But what you can also do is to do a hydration system where you can move some objects into the Express One Zone for high latency and have a backup in another kind of bucket. But I mean, that's for application designs. But just know that one of the downsides is it's actually hosted on one zone. So if one zone has a problem, you might have a downtime. So the best way to design for this is to have the original files and also replicate them on the one zone. So your customers will have latency. Okay, they won't have latency problems. And then whenever you need to retrieve the original files, you can always go back to the existing bucket that have high availability. Another mention, which we don't have here, is the Neptune analytics. So Amazon Neptune is a graph database, which is something I've always loved. Okay, there are a lot of graph databases out there, but Amazon Neptune is pretty much straightforward to use and quite easy. Now, Neptune comes with analytics. Okay, now if you understand graph DBs, they are basically very unique in the way they work, which means they help you to find relations in data by using what they call vertices. But imagine adding the analytics on top of that. It means that you can actually dig deeper into your data much faster and understand the behavior of everything going on in your database, even without using the natural or the native method of vertices and how data intersects in the graph database. So that's all from me from the database and the compute side. I'll hand over back to Cyril and then we'll wait for questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Ewere. It's like I was following another lesson after the Reinvent lesson. So it's really very well explicit there. You are very clear and your recommendations. I'm surely going to watch out for the G next time. And thanks so much for being so explicit. I think from Quincy, we have a couple of comments there, but we are going to, yes, get to that. So let me just go on with serverless for now while you're looking at some of the comments. I think Fonquenti was dropping and some other people in the chat. So again, I was saying we wish our serverless hero Rosius speedy recovery. He was to be here, but he's not well. So I'm just going to go through some of the key releases that we and he said he really wanted to do more talking about it. So I might not be as elaborate as him. He's the expert, but let's just get this and try to work on this year and the coming year. So there's the AWS Application Composer now in the IDE, and the AWS Step Functions inside App Composer, and also the Amplify Generation 2. So let's go straight to the first one, which is the fact that now there's an ID extension for the AWS App Composer. So you can now use, this is the VS Code, for example, you can now freely use your App Composer in your VS Code, for example, and all you need to do is you just use your visuals and you get your AI generated infrastructure as code. As you can see here, with dropping these visuals here, you are able to get this code automatically generated for you, which makes life easier for you, especially as from here you can be able to deploy easily and you don't need to worry about writing infrastructure as code. And with your design, you can be able to iterate your application architecture as you want, drag, drop, remodify it as you want, so that you get the architecture you want, and then you finally push or deploy it to your production environment or so. So you can very quickly prototype your application. And so you just focus on your business logic, your app code. You leave out this infrastructure as code, this cloud formation side of things. You just focus on making sure that your Lambda logic is working very well, for example. So this is taken care of visually for you. So this is something that I think is going to ease the work for some of the serverless developers this year and in the coming year as well. Now, let's look at the next interesting thing is the step functions in App Composer. So you now are able to, while doing your AI generated infrastructure as code with App Composer, you can add step functions inside your flow. So step functions work studio is now found inside the AWS App Composer, so that you have a unified visual infrastructure as code development window. So you don't need to move around so much. You're in one page working in App Composer, but you can zoom in to your step functions, add your steps inside step functions, zoom out again, and you are back getting the whole picture of your application, and your infrastructure as code is just one. So you're able to visualize your full app code, and it functions with, and your step functions workflow studio in one interface. So this is interesting because you're able to easily see the big picture while you're building your serverless applications. So this is something that will be interesting for next year. And the third now is the fact that AWS Amplify Generation 2 is around the corner. So for those who have been using Generation 1, Generation 2 is very interesting because it's a code-first developer experience. And the key thing is that it enables developers to build full-stack applications using TypeScript. So TypeScript has really become very popular recently for developers, full stack, especially when you're using your front end, when you're building your front application. So now with the Gen 2, you can really do your full stack easily by building your back end using a code-first developer experience. So you just need to express your application requirements. Once you're done with your front end, you express your requirements to the back end. So this is the data model, this is the business logic, these are the authentication rules, and then there is going to build it for you. So the necessary cloud infrastructure is automatically deployed. So you don't need to explicitly bother about your infrastructure definitions, because you just need to express your app requirements, and the rest is taken care of for you. So another thing too is that you have this live preview. So every time you save any change, you already see the preview of what you've done so far. So it helps really so that you can be able to quickly build your applications before moving to production. So these are some of the key things to look at for serverless. So you might get in touch with Rosius. He's available on LinkedIn, on Twitter, to get more details and be able to communicate. Maybe let me give you some tips or support on how you can implement these, but these are the things to look out for serverless this year and the next year. So now coming to machine learning, I think the whole of Reinvent, after every 2 minutes or 5 minutes, I'll probably get the word Gen AI, or I'll probably get the word Gen AI machine learning. So I just came up with these 5. There were so many releases, but just want to quickly go through so that you can have some ideas, some proposals, some suggestions, so that when you're building next year and beyond, you can have these in mind. So the first and obvious release here, which I think was really very, very interesting, is the Amazon Q. So the Q is a fully managed Gen AI chat assistant. So the good thing is it is sitting in your AWS account. So it is well aware of your permissions, all your database, is well aware of your organization, is well aware of all the quadrants, everything that you've put in place. So Q is really very interesting because it knows everything about your account, what a user is not supposed to see or what the user is supposed to see. So any question that the user is asking, it is able to check at the same time the permissions to be able to get that response. So it is just some form of troubleshooting for you, some form of assistant for you. And it's powered, of course, by Amazon Bedrock, the foundation model for Gen AI or AWS. And it has key features like you can chat like a chatbot. It also has the memory of your conversations, memory of what you have been exchanging with the application. And also it can help you with code improvements. So you can be able to get suggestions for improving your code, troubleshooting. Why am I getting this error? Is going to be able to tell you clearly this is where this error is coming from, because it is connected to it's connected to your whole account and understands every configuration you have been trying to build. So it's available as well in IDEs. So through the AWS toolkit, you can have it now in your IDE, such as your VS Code. So you can be working in your local and connect directly to your services, ask your questions, work where you're comfortable. And when you're happy about it, you push to production. And so in these IDEs, it provides you your software development assistance as well. So you can use it for code generation in your local IDE and also for debugging some of your code. So Amazon Q, you would realize that it's in so many places, in Redshift, in so many places. But one interesting thing is in QuickSight. So for business intelligence, for some time, we've been using QuickSight, and we now can be able to benefit from the queue in QuickSight. So it adds a generative business intelligence capability to your dashboards. QuickSight is basically for dashboards. So it can help you to build stories. So you can give it a dashboard and it tell me, write a story about this dashboard. So it's going to tell you this is what the performance has been. We noticed that your churn rates were higher in January, lower in December, and even can propose some of the actions that you can put in place to be able to improve some of those KPIs. So it's very interesting. And it has also your executive summaries. So you could have your dashboard and you say, just give me an executive summary of these dashboards, and it's going to give you maybe a couple of bullet points, just straight facts and statistics for executives. I mean, we always know executives don't have time. So just 2 minutes flash, they are able to understand what is going on with the data. So it can do that exec summary for you. And also you can have your data Q&A. So you can ask it questions about your data, just like you're querying and you get your visual analytics. So you can ask it, okay, how much sales do we make this month? Who is the highest selling staff? For example, who is the most performant staff in our company? So you're just like querying the data, but you're using plain English, and then Q is going to translate all of that and produce visuals for you based on your plain English. So it's really very interesting because it makes it easier for business users to just ask simple questions, and it proposes even questions you could ask. So business intelligence will be faster and more efficient with QuickSight, with Q under the hood. So the next interesting thing from the releases Reinvent is the fact that Anthropic's Claude has moved from 2.0 to 2.1, and it was clearly stated that one of the biggest things there is the hallucination, that it cuts down, is 2 times less hallucination, because we all know that our major thing with the Gen AI, like if some of us have been using ChatGPT, our issues are usually the hallucination. The model gives you an answer or a result with so much confidence, whereas it's not correct. So it doesn't say, I don't know, for example. So with Claude moving from 2.0 to 2.1, one of the biggest things is the fact that hallucination has been cut down by 50%. So it means the accuracy is going to be way better, which is what we all want. And also the fact that it has up to 200,000 tokens. So context window, so which means you can feed in about 150,000 words as input, and it's going to use all of that to come up with output. So this could still be like averagely 500 documents. So an average, there are longer documents, there are shorter documents, but just to give you a picture of the size, the volume. So you could have about roughly 500 documents. You push it to Claude 2.1, and it's still going to give you a more accurate result, because now it has less hallucination. So it's now better on long documents than the Claude 2.0 was. And we hope there will be more improvements, maybe Claude 2.2, 2.3. The research is still ongoing. So there's so much on machine learning, of course, Gen AI. So the fourth one is the fact that I'm happy that you can now be able to customize your models in Bedrock. So remember, when you do training, which is mostly done by the cloud with billions of parameters, now you want now to be able to fine tune that model so that it's focused on your specific use case. Maybe you're wanting to respond to healthcare issues or to finance issues. So you want to give it your own data set so that it is better able to respond to your specific use case. So you can now customize your foundation models, like Bedrock in this case, with your own data. And then you can build applications that are specific to your domain or your organization or your use case. So you take your data and you feed it into the foundation model, train it to be able to understand your specific organization and its problems and its database. So whenever you ask a specific question about something that is found in your maybe Postgre or your MySQL database, it will go find it for you and will give you a relevant answer, not just a generic answer from the fact that it was trained with internet data, maybe from more developed countries, for example, which maybe might not be your case. So you can fine tune it, which is very interesting. So fine tuning also improves accuracy, because as we say, garbage in, garbage out. So the model can only say what it knows. So if it's well trained, it's going to give you the right answers. Otherwise, you just pick the most probable, maybe the probability is 40%, and just spit it out to you and say, okay, and maybe that'll be the hallucination thing, you'll be wrong. So it will be 98% confident that this answer I'm giving you is what you need. So that is something that is interesting as well. So you can also use continuous pre-training with your unlabeled data as well with this customization. So you can even bring in unlabeled data as well, and the model will keep learning and improving to suit your specific organization. And remember, one of the major things about all these models in AWS is the fact that there's that privacy. So your data belongs to you only, not like maybe some of the open source applications that at times we have this issue of privacy. What I've been inputting about my organization, somebody else could query and get what I have been what I've been inputting about my organization. But then with these models in AWS, like Bedrock, there is that strict privacy. It's your data and it stays only on your context and stays with you. Nobody can be able to get your prompts or see what you've been using your foundation models for. So that's something very, very important to know. So you can fine tune for the models like Llama 2, Command Light, or Amazon's Titan models. All of them are up for customization. So, and the last thing, finally, is the fact that Amazon has been able to give us a multimodal model. So multimodal is the ability for the system to be able to process different data types. So you're able to feed it text, feed it words, feed it text, feed it image, and is able to process those to give you the result. So that is the multimodal, because for now, what we are seeing with most of these models out here is the fact that you can only write text. You have to write it down, and then it's going to give you the output. But with the fact that AWS now has the multimodal embeddings, it means that at the same time, you can send a picture, it's going to look, you can also write text. So it's being able to use different data types and still get the results, which is almost like how we chat with our friends at times, maybe on WhatsApp or on any media, Slack, whatever. At times you might send a picture, then you might write something there. So that's what this is able to do. So you can submit text, images, or both as inputs, and you get your output. So you can fine tune the model, maybe on an image caption pair. You have an image of your equipment in the office, and you rename it. You write some text on that image, and you fine tune your model so it knows it's either the image or the text. It knows what you're talking about. So these are some of the interesting things that we got from Reinvent. So I would, Ewere, I think if anybody has any questions, or if there are some questions in the chat that we want to respond, we can respond. And I think these are some of the key things of Reinvent that we got. So Ewere, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
A lot
so
of updates.
yeah,
Quite interesting.
yeah. So did you you seen some of the things in the chat? Okay. Okay, I
Yeah,
see.
I think there's a question here for you. Says, can Amazon Q help with writing code?
Yes, Amazon Q can help. But now, okay, now you're talking about VTL code. I'll need to check, but I know, for example, for Redshift, for example, you can use the queue, which is under the hood in Redshift, and you can say what you want, and then it's going to generate a proposed code for you. Maybe you say, I want to get the sales for the past 2 months. Then it's going to say, okay, select star from, it's going to tell you what you need to write to get that. And then you can copy that and paste, and you get the answer. So it's, of course, it can do that for you very, very effectively. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So if there are any questions, any any concerns? So or is there some other release that any of you loved from Reinvent? I see some people were there. Is there any release that you love from Reinvent that you thought was exciting? Because coming up with this list was really difficult for me because I thought of just putting everything. Everything was looking good, you know. So is there any release that you guys saw that was kind of interesting as well? That could also be something to talk about. But overall, where it was a very cool experience and meeting lots of people, like-minded people, all in one room, and we are sharing, and we are also at the same time just kind of like it's end of year after Thanksgiving, so at some point in time, it's also being having some time to like just be with people you've been online with maybe for a year or more. You've been on LinkedIn posting and sharing and commenting, but you've never seen them. And then it's also that aspect of meeting people and also as I mean just getting in that environment, which is also an interesting part of Reinvent. Then you have, of course, the releases and workshops and of course, the parties. Yeah. So it's a mix of everything. And for sure, what I notice is that you can't accomplish everything. You can't see everyone. You can't attend all the sessions. So yeah, if you're sure you've seen lots of guides on how to prepare water, things like that, good shoes. There are so many guides, but then at the end of the day, you can only do a part, get what you can get from there because it's really crazy. Everything is in a rush. Yeah. So you might be planning and then you bump into a couple of people, then your plan changes. Things are just like, yeah, like that. So, but it's cool. So okay, so you will get a question. Can you please share Reinvent links also? Okay, okay. We had that in the so what is easy to do is just to Google search AWS Reinvent 2023, and you're going to find, especially if you go to YouTube, you're going to find lots of interesting things there. So there are so many, even there are articles, there are so many things all over the place. So just Google search like AWS reInvent top announcements 2023. You're going to have it here. And if you Google search AWS keynotes 2023, and then also if you talk about AWS breakout sessions 2023, reInvent breakout sessions 2023, you're going to have all these. There's so many resources. That's why one of the major things we wanted to do was to try to break it down to give you maybe one or two or three or four or five that we thought we could focus on. So, okay. So, we got, okay. Fon is saying he was disappointed. AF West one wasn't announced. Ewere, what do you think? Let me see.
Well, I believe that well, I think it's in the work. I think it's in the works, and I think it's something that is in the works. So let's keep our fingers crossed. I mean, we already have a local zone in Nigeria.
Lucky you.
We already have an edge point in Nigeria. We also have an edge location in Philippines, South Africa. So it means that, I mean, hopefully we are going to get that. We're going to get AF West 1 very soon. Very, very soon.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's just keep our fingers crossed for. Don't feel so sad.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, we have a local zone already, and I've also worked with the local zone. Pretty awesome, works very well. And it also has the local IP in Nigeria.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that's
something we
interesting.
look forward to, and
Okay.
hopefully it comes.
Okay. 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 So, well, guess we don't have any more questions. Yeah, don't have any more questions. So if we don't have any more questions, then I guess let me, we could, yep. So we could call it a day. So okay. Afolabi is looking forward to the local zones as to more of the regions this way as well. Yeah, let's just keep pushing. You're muted. Where? Can't
Yeah,
you?
the local zones are really there. You can take advantage of them. I have a video on YouTube that explains how to launch in the AWS local zone in Lagos. So you can always take advantage of it. It works very well. And it has Nigerian IP, local IP addresses. So yeah, I feel that very soon we shall have an easy very soon.
Yeah, yeah. Let's just keep pushing, pushing more. Our companies, ourselves doing more work, and with more customers, I think things come faster. Yeah. So we just keep pushing. Yeah. Okay. So I think we don't have anything else in the comments. I'm looking. Yes, thank you to Evans. Thanks for joining and attending. Um, yes, thank you, Afolabi. Yeah, we are all looking forward to that. Thanks so much, Fon, for your contribution as well. Ewere, I think you have okay, insider information. Do you have insider information? Can you share with us your insider information? Insider information. Yeah.
None
So
at all. None are well. I'm not in Peter DeSantis' team. They are the ones in charge of global infrastructure. So maybe Cyril, who was in Las Vegas, could have asked Peter
I
DeSantis
didn't
what's
hear
going on.
any, I didn't hear anything. So
Just
please.
call Peter DeSantis to the side and say, "Man, what's going on? Let's get this going. Let's get this going."
Yeah, I didn't hear anything, please. So I don't know what is here. I don't know what's happening. So we are all in the same boat then. Yeah, thanks, Afolabi. Okay, yes, Funny saying good to know the local zone supports local IPs. Yeah, yeah, it's interesting to know. I just heard it from you really. Well, I didn't know they support local IPs. That's good. That's good to know. So, okay. So I think just have 8 more minutes at the top of the hour, but yeah, maybe we can call it a day.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So any more questions? Ewere is available on LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm available as well. So you can reach out to us and you can just we can continue this discussion. So thanks so much, Ewere. If you have something to say, and then we can conclude. Okay.
Thanks everyone for joining. It was a wonderful time, and then hope to see you again next year to talk about more interesting stuff, and just make sure Reinvent is more fun for you so you don't have to worry about too many announcements. About 280 features were launched in this Reinvent alone, and 3 new services. So that's kind of a lot to look through. There were so many announcements we didn't talk about here, but I believe that if you use the console, you should stumble into a couple of them. I stumbled into one yesterday when I was working on EKS. So some changes were made to EKS where you can configure port policies, and some very interesting features were added to EKS. So some services have some improvements also that have been released during this Reinvent that were not like majorly announced. So I'm sure as you walk through your console or your script, you're going to see some new changes and some interesting improvements for you to work on. So just keep checking out, keep reading, and keep learning new ways to use these tools to be more productive and generate more value for organizations. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks for your time, Ewere, and thanks for all those who have joined to support and give their comments and questions. I think the CTO say, go build. Yes,
Go build.
go build. Let's go build. So on that note, we end with the go build note. Okay, so bye bye. Bye bye.
All right.